Prime Minister Narendra Modi and U.S. President Donald Trump reaffirmed strong ties in their first meeting since Trump's return to the White House, eye closer trade and strategic cooperation. Trump announces massive military sales to India, says F-35 stealth fighter jets will be provided in the future. PM Modi sets $500 billion trade target with the US by 2030, aims for a swift conclusion of mutually beneficial trade deal soon. PM Modi and Donald Trump sign a deal to make US the top oil and gas supplier of India. Trump announces U.S. India partnership on India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, calls it one of history's greatest trade routes linking Asia, Middle East and Europe. PM Modi meets Tesla chief Elon Musk in Washington, D.C., discusses collaboration on space, AI, mobility and innovation. Trump orders economic team to draft reciprocal tariffs on all nations taxing U.S. imports, raising fears of a global trade war. You are watching News 9. It's a special broadcast. We're bringing to you all the details of that big meeting between Donald Trump and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In a high-stakes diplomatic engagement, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House, his first meeting with Trump since the latter's return to office. The two leaders reaffirmed their strong bond, emphasizing closer trade and strategic cooperation. However, the meeting comes amidst growing concerns over Trump's newly announced reciprocal tariff plans, which could hit India hard. PM Modi and Trump set an ambitious target of doubling India-US bilateral trade to $500 billion by the year 2030. PM Modi announced that both countries will soon finalize a mutually beneficial trade agreement, marking a new era in the economic ties between India and the US. President Trump of the US also confirmed that the US will sell F-35 stealth fighter jets to India, making it one of the select few nations to operate these state-of-the-art aircraft. The two leaders further strengthened their partnership by signing a major energy deal, positioning the US as India's top oil and gas supplier. Meanwhile, PM Modi announced plans to lower tariffs, allowing greater US access to Indian markets as both nations work to address the nearly $100 billion US trade deficit with India. The partnership also extends to nuclear energy, with India welcoming US nuclear energy to provide clean electricity to millions.
अमेरिका की भाषा में कहूं तो विकसित भारत का मतलब मेक इंडिया ग्रेट अगेन, यानी मिगा। जब अमेरिका और भारत साथ मिलकर काम करते हैं, यानी मागा, मागा प्लस मीगा तब बन जाता है मेगा पार्टनरशिप फॉर प्रॉस्पेरिटी। और यही मेगा स्पिरिट हमारे लक्ष्यों को नया स्केल और स्कोप देती है। मैं राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप से एक बात हमेशा एप्रिशिएट करता आया हूं, सीखता आया हूं कि वे राष्ट्रहित को सर्वोपरि रख करके काम करते हैं। राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप की तरह मुझे भी भारत के हितों को सर्वोपरि रखते हुए कार्य करना ये मेरे लिए सौभाग्य की बात है।
One thing that I deeply appreciate and I learned from President Trump is that he keeps the national interest supreme, and like him, I also keep the national interest of India at the top of everything else, and this has been my real.
Now, Prime Minister Modi also met with Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk at the Blair House and held discussions on strengthening collaborations between India and U.S. entities in innovation, space exploration, artificial intelligence and sustainable development. Meanwhile, just ahead of his meeting with Modi, President Trump doubled down on his tariff stance, declaring that the U.S. will impose equal tariffs on countries that charge higher duties on American goods, explicitly naming India as a top offender.
Okay. They can build a factory here, a plant or whatever it may be here, and that includes the medical, that includes cars, that includes chips and semiconductors, that includes everything. If you build here, you have no tariffs whatsoever. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think our country's going to be flooded with jobs. They say this is going to be the thing that makes our country really prosperous again. And this is going to be what pays down to $36 trillion in debt and all the other things. And this is going to be, this is an amazing day. And I'll tell you what, I think really reciprocal tariffs, those two words, reciprocal makes tariffs really fair.
All countries, there'd be no exemptions, right? It would be all auto imports?
Any exemptions, no, because you don't need to. With reciprocal, you don't need to.
And now we have Rakesh Kar, editor of News9 Mediaverse, joining us on this broadcast alongside Vivek Kumar, economist at Quant Eco, and Mithali Nikore, founder and chief economist of Nikore Associates. Thank you all of you for taking time out to be with us over here on News9. Rakesh, before we go to the guests, let's put things into context. Yes, there are some great headlines coming out of that meeting, energy deal, defense deals, etc., etc. But the specter of tariffs refuses to go away.
Absolutely, Krishna. Good morning to you and all our guests. I think I summarize it in one line. Tarif pe tarif, tariff pe tariff, or ek tarikh. So we now have a deadline, the tariff calendar, which is April 1, once the full document is ready, and then President Trump will review it. And absolutely, he didn't budge an inch on naming India as a key tariff offender, if I can use that phrase. But if you keep that aside, the overall bonhomie between the two and the gamut of relationships that have been outlined in the meeting is phenomenal. So, this mega, Prime Minister Modi is known to create these acronyms, and he's done a great job of it. Make America great again, make India great again, and the two together will do a mega project. So optics, a brilliant, President Donald Trump pulled the chair away for him to sign the document, which is in terms of, the etiquette and the courtesies extended, the visuals, the cameras, the showcasing is brilliant. To my mind, the framework for having a larger trade deal by the end of the year, that's a big plus. And the other big plus is the defense deal. And of course, on terrorism, the decision to extradite Tahir Rana puts the entire meeting in context as hugely successful. Yes, tariffs is a huge political constituency for Donald Trump, and he is going to sign on that dotted line. India has to, balance it with a trade deal where, ultimately companies like Tesla, he didn't mention Tesla, President Donald Trump specifically, but he mentioned 70% on cars. So in that sense, we really have to rework. And remember, Donald Trump hasn't forgotten the Harley-Davidson episode. He mentioned it yet again, though he did briefly talk about the concessions that India offered in the latest budget. So net, I think, if we are able to expedite a trade deal by the end of the year, and we are able to work more closely, giving greater access to American companies and also building our own units there in terms of manufacturing. We have a great relationship going.
Okay. We have a great relationship going, and I really enjoyed that tarif pe tarif to tariff pe tariff. Vivek, let's talk about that. There is this massive energy deal that will position the US as India's top oil and gas supplier, and that could change the dynamics overall as far as the economic and trade ties between India and US is concerned.
Hi, Krishna. Good morning, and thanks for having me on the show. Yes, definitely. I think the news which is hitting us since late evening, in fact, early in the morning also, is pretty encouraging. And also it is somewhat perplexing because, yes, on the ground, you have the threat of the reciprocal tariff looming large on countries like India. On the other hand, the optics, as was just pointed out, is extremely encouraging with respect to what is getting signed and what is getting promised. So so there are three key emphasis areas. One is energy, defense, and technology. And as far as energy is concerned, this has been one of the focus areas for the US president even before he went into election. So he is going to push forward as far as energy is concerned. In fact, if you track some of the news which is coming from on the energy side in the last 24 to 48 hours, there is some bit of I would say, caution with respect to the purchase of energy from countries like Russia. Now, India is making that effort to give out sound bites that they are probably not going to be keen to purchase Russian oil if that is getting sent in vessels which do not comply with the regulations as far as US has enforced. So it's more a case of balancing that we are seeing. Now India is warming up to the fact that energy ties between India and the US will have to be much more deeper than what they are right now. And it is going to change the global order from an global order and trade from an India perspective. So the entire trade at a global level is in for a great reset as far as 2025 is concerned.
There's a great reset in store, but Mithali, all eyes will be on that final trade deal between India and the US, isn't it, at this stage?
Absolutely, absolutely, Krishna. I think very interesting, and as Vivek rightly said, confusing sometimes the signals coming in from the US administration. However, I think the larger target of taking the current trade relationship from, say, a $125 or $130 billion a year today to a $500 billion by 2030, which is not that far away. It's just in 5 years, we're planning to say triple the trade. That has huge implications. And if you would notice, President Trump has ensured that, this is not going to go only in the way of India. That trade composition of 500 billion is not only about India exporting, but also India importing a large amount of the US oil and gas, because, the President Trump realizes that India is a massive buyer of oil and gas from Russia. And now he's kind of monetizing the US oil assets and making sure that one of the world's largest purchasers of oil and gas prioritizes purchasing from the US. And I think that's a brilliant move. And secondly, of course, looking at the high technology industries, I find that very promising because tech is the future of cooperation between India and the US. We have been, a massive supplier of IT services to the US. Today, that industry is completely changing with the advent of artificial intelligence. And if India wants to maintain its leadership as a tech leader, in the global scenario, then it's extremely essential that, India should be able to partner with US-based tech companies and have that technology learning alongside, American-based companies. And therefore, the tech partnership, which has been discussed with Elon Musk, becomes extremely, extremely important. So, of course, the oil purchases, the defense purchases from India, but then India also benefiting from, a continued and stable trade relationship. And on the reciprocal tariffs, I honestly feel that, if the trade deal comes through, then India may also be able to avoid the reciprocal tariffs in that sense. Because once the, tenets of a trade agreement and a bilateral trade agreement are enshrined, then, the reciprocal tariffs may or may not apply to India. So I think it remains to be seen how this trade deal negotiation is going to take place over the next year.
All right, how will these negotiations go? We will need to wait for that. But for now, we're taking a very short breather here on the show. We'll be back after a very short break.
मैं और आप कोई फर्क नहीं है हमें।
6 needed of the last ball.
जब ताक लेते हैं अपनी मंजिल को तो उसे पाने के लिए कमर तोड़ मेहनत करते हैं, पर कभी-कभी मेहनत और मंजिल के बीच
House is not in your budget, sir. Sorry.
रह जाता है एक फासला। खैर, मुझे उस फासले को मिटाने के लिए थोड़ी और मेहनत लगेगी, पर शुक्र है आपके पास है टाटा कैपिटल, जो मिटाए फासले आपकी मेहनत और मंजिल के बीच। टाटा कैपिटल, मिटाए फासले।
Mama must be missing us now.
Let's take you on, babe, give me one day. Feel the itch under my skin, it's a one day. You been like it when you see we are done, hey. It doesn't matter, just gotta get going.
New GT line, Taigun and Virtus. Volkswagen.
Hello everyone, this is Papon and I am coming to Dilwalo Ki Dilli this Valentine's Day to perform for the World Travel and Tourism Festival.
You're watching News Now. We're getting you all the latest on that big meeting between PM Modi and Donald Trump. In that high-stakes meeting, one of the biggest headlines to have come out was the fact that Trump announced massive sales of arms to India. He said that F-35 stealth fighter jets will be provided to India in the future. And not just that, this is part of an overall defense partnership that has been struck between India and the U.S. Let's listen in first.
This year we'll be increasing military sales to India by many billions of dollars. We're also paving the way to ultimately provide India with the F-35 stealth fighters. In 2017, my administration revived and reinvigorated the Quad security partnership. In our meeting today, the Prime Minister and I reaffirmed that strong cooperation among the United States, India, Australia, and Japan. And it's crucial, really, to maintaining peace and prosperity, tranquility, even in the Indo-Pacific.
भारत की ऊर्जा सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करने में हम ऑयल तथा गैस ट्रेड को बल देंगे। ऊर्जा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में निवेश भी बढ़ेगा। न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी क्षेत्र में हमने स्मॉल मॉड्यूलर रिएक्टर्स की दिशा में सहयोग बढ़ाने पर भी बात की। फ्रेंड्स, भारत की डिफेंस प्रिपेयर्डनेस में अमेरिका की महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका है। स्ट्रैटेजिक और ट्रस्टेड पार्टनर के नाते हम जॉइंट डेवलपमेंट, जॉइंट प्रोडक्शन और ट्रांसफर ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी की दिशा में सक्रिय रूप से आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। आने वाले समय में भी नई टेक्नोलॉजी और इक्विपमेंट हमारी क्षमता बढ़ाएंगे।
We'll take this first across to Rakesh ji. Rakesh, talk to us. One is that big energy deal, and the other contours of that conversation. This is big. F-35s to India as part of a larger, defense partnership.
Yeah, absolutely, Krishna. It couldn't get more strategic in terms of an alliance which is building at all its parameters. You have the defense, you have the energy security pact, you have the technology pact, and you have also the strengthening of the Quad, which is a larger trade, which is a larger security apparatus. So in that sense, this particular meeting has been very, very, important, because it's covering all the 5 key elements of relationship. And I would, net say that despite, the fears on tariff, which he is completely stuck on, and it's a global statement that he's made on tariffs, which will have implications for India and for many other countries. By and large, the expectations of the meeting are on exactly on the lines that we had proposed and suggested and imagined. So in that sense, this visit and this meeting covers them all. And, imagine Modi also met the entire administration, Trump government, and also the new element in the picture, which is Elon Musk, who is not just the richest man in the world, but also the, now a key feature of Trump administration. So in that sense, the hard work that has gone in making such meetings possible should yield results. And I agree with Mithali that the larger trade deal should, be able to encompass all these elements and also accommodate for some of the fears that we have on the trade perspective. And on the oil deal, which the Prime Minister also mentioned, endorsing it right there itself, that should be good news for Trump, and he should be pleased with that.
Right, it's good news for Trump, and also it's it's also good news for India. At a time when there's so many questions on the economy and how it's going to go from here. Vivek, talk to us. A partnership like this, a rejuvenated partnership like this with the world's biggest economy, can only do more good to the Indian economy.
Yes, of course. So, whether you look at it from a share of GDP perspective in the global arena, both US and India put together, they are formidable partnership to talk about. And if you are talking about deepening of trade relationships from, let's say, close to 200 billion, which also includes services trade, to somewhere close to 500 billion in a matter of about 5 to 6 years. So the speed at which this change is likely to unfold, and that is at least what the intention is going to create a lot of synergies for both India as well as US, more so for India because the size of the economy is smaller compared to US. So completely agree with you that this is going to be a synergetic relationship for both the economies.
A synergetic relationship for both the economies, and coming at a crucial time, isn't it, Mithali? India's growth rate. So many questions being raised on that. How do you ensure that all these India can beat all the somber predictions for GDP? It is by partnering with economies like the US and striking that all-important trade deal, isn't it? Because this is not just about the India-US partnership and that going to new levels. This is about taking the Indian economy to the next stage of growth. Mithali, please unmute yourself. Mithali, if you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I was saying that at the end of the day, it's also about backing a country which is going to show the kind of growth and have the kind of consumption market to also benefit the US as an investor. US is coming into India as an important investor, saying that we are putting in our financial capital, we are putting in our technical capital, we are putting in our defense capital into this economy to make sure that the growth is stable, to make sure that the growth is, providing the returns not only for the Indian people, which of course is very important, but also for the American economy and making sure that they get a return on their investment. I mean, they are not making this investment for free. And I also want to highlight the IMEC corridor, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, because just 2 days ago, when President Modi also met President Macron in France, he also reaffirmed his commitment to the IMEC. And then again, President Trump continuing the priorities of President Biden, who actually signed the deal around the IMEC and the G20 in September 2023 in New Delhi, continuing that commitment and saying we are also committed to the IMEC. Now that's a massive commitment.
That's a massive commitment. Another very important point as far as this all-important Modi-Trump meeting is concerned. I'm afraid with that, we've completely run out of time over here. I'm going to thank Vivek Kumar, Mithali Nikore, and of course Rakesh Ji, editor of News9 Mediaverse, for being with us on this broadcast. And with that, it's a wrap here on the show. And from my side, this is Krishna Kumar signing off.
और आप, हम अलग कहाँ हैं?
Gill on 199.
अपनी अपनी मंजिल पर हम दोनों की नजर है और उसके लिए हम जी जान लगाकर मेहनत करते हैं। पर कभी कभी
He's out on 199.
मेहनत और मंजिल के बीच रह जाता है एक फासला। खैर, मुझे उस फासले को मिटाने के लिए थोड़ी और मेहनत लगेगी, पर शुक्र है आपके पास है टाटा कैपिटल, जो मिटाए फासले आपकी मेहनत और मंजिल के बीच। टाटा कैपिटल, मिटाए फासले।
News9.
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 News9. News9.
Now they're relaunching News9.
News9 is coming back. News9 will be very useful for creating public opinion.
It's going to be only truth.
And I wish you all the best. Very happy and all the best.
बहुत अच्छा लगा मेरे को, उनको मुबारकबादी देता हूँ।
Congratulations to News9. All the very best.
All the very best, News9.
I wish the channel all the very best.
Let News9 be the voice of Karnataka and India.
Back to the White House. We spent a lot of time here and a lot of time in India, and he's a very special man. Prime Minister, it is a pleasure to extend to you the same hospitality that you showed Melania and myself when we traveled to your beautiful country 5 years ago. It's hard to believe, so long ago, and it seemed like yesterday. It was beautiful. We opened the cricket stadium, 129,000 seats, I think the largest stadium in the world, and it was an incredible period of time.